We are good to go ahead, Gunjan. Please start.
Okay.
No, it's not at 11.
Good morning.
It's only 10:53.
Good morning, everyone. Yes. Good
Yeah,
morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session with us. I'm your host, Dr. Gunjan. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a major effect on our life. Many of us are facing challenges that can be stressful, overwhelming, and cause strong emotion in adults and children too. Public health actions such as social distancing are necessary to reduce the spread of COVID 19, but they have made us feel isolated and lonely and have increased stress and anxiety. We at Shining Tomorrow Foundation have a vision to create a better future for the needy by sustainability and efficiently. During time of heightened anxiety, we know that you and your loved one may need someone to talk to. Our objective is to design a platform to connect people to counselors, doctors, psychologists, experts who can act as your real friend to overcome their fears and mental health related issues. For this, Shining Tomorrow Foundation is running an open and free WhatsApp helpline to connect you with experts who can act as your real friends and help you to deal with issues related to mental health. You do not have to be in crisis to connect with us. Reach out even if you are just looking for ways to support someone you are concerned about. So, this was a brief introduction about Hard Time Friend program. In today's session, we will be discussing about coping with COVID work stress using CIP Framework. Objective is to understand the causes of COVID stress and their symptoms, to learn the strategies to cope up with the stress, to create awareness about precaution. Whether you are out of work or working from home, the COVID 19 pandemic has probably changed the way you work. Fear and anxiety about this new disease, other strong emotion can be overwhelming. How you cope up with these emotions and stress can affect your the well-being of the people you care about, your workplace, and your community. During this pandemic, it is critical that you recognize what stress looks like. Take steps to build your resilience and manage job stress, and know where you go if you need help. To give us more insight on this topic, Professor C. Balaji is here, who is the chief mentor of Athulya CIP creator CIP Framework. Sir holds the doctoral fellowship title from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, within 17 years of experience in academics and 13 years of experience in business cooperation. He has dedicated his entire life in training and coaching people to cause incredible performance at work and in their personal life, for which he has used the Causing Incredible Performance framework and approach he has created for himself. So, welcome to the webinar, sir.
Thank you.
So, sir, as we continue to navigate COVID-19 with the precaution, many of us are worried about the well-being of ourselves and people we care the most. Whether we are working from home, have recently returned from your workplace, or never left your workplace to begin with, fear and anxiety may have become the part of our everyday. So, sir, how this framework of CIP help us in coping such kind of stress?
Okay, so that's what I'm going to talk about, right?
Yes, sir.
So, may I start?
Yes, sir.
Or do we have some more time for people to join?
So, you can start.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So, first of all, thanks to Shining Tomorrow Foundation, Himanshu, Gunjan, for having me to talk about how the CIP framework, Causing Incredible Performance framework, can help in the context of COVID-induced work stress. Thank you very much for this, and it's my privilege to be able to serve the viewers, people who are watching this event. So I want to share I have a few slides which I'll use, and we'll also have time for question answers. I understand people can't directly interact with me during the session through Facebook or whatever. So whoever wants to interact, please send your whatever you want to say to the comments, and Gunjan and somebody else will keep track of that and let me know as and when we go on. Okay, and okay, so that is, please do interact. Let's make it interactive as much as we can given the technology. So let me share a screen which has a few slides. Has it gone? You share it to screen, right? Window. I'm not able to locate the slides. Gunjan,
Yes, sir.
I'm not able to locate the slides which I want to share.
Okay,
I
sir.
share it on a window, right?
Yes, sir.
I shared it earlier, but now I can't.
So can you can you
Can I
see?
what?
Ash,
Can I what?
so can you see the screen, the presentation on the screen now?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I will be sharing it, sir. No issues.
okay.
Yeah.
Can you move the slide? Move. Okay, before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is to use the causing incredible performance framework to explain how we can understand the connection between COVID and work-related stress. I'll explain that. So before I explain that, I also need to explain a bit about the causing incredible performance framework, which I will do. And then simply knowing what is the connection between COVID and work stress is inadequate. What will help all of us is what can CIP framework contribute to you we actually handling the COVID stress, right? COVID related stress. So I'll talk about a few things from the CIP framework which can help us causing handle this work stress. We move on. Go to the skip then. Yeah, move on. Move. Now we can't have the participant. Just leave it there. Go to the early one. Okay, just leave it. We participants won't share. No, previous. Go to the previous slide. So we won't have the participant sharing because that's not possible with this technology. So I want to say that I myself have gone through this COVID situation. I have had my own share of. I think the slides are not correct. I had my own shares of COVID and the stress due to COVID. For instance, I had one of my bosses at a very young age expiring due to COVID. On the same day, 3 hours after I got the information about my boss expiring, one of my cousins expired. He's also a young man, younger than me. And on the Facebook, my page, I see got so many messages from somebody who shared that many of my students expired. Students at IRMA expired. Okay. And of course, the news about COVID, deaths, number of cases rising, shooting through, blah, 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 was full in all the media, right? And on the other hand, I also had other kind of experience where one of my aunts and her husband, they are also aged, they are older than me, and my aunt actually has a very serious kidney problem. Both of them got infected in COVID, through COVID, but both of them are alive now. And another uncle of mine who is about what, 75 years old, who was 75 years old, he was so seriously affected by COVID that we had made up our mind that he is going to be no more. We had actually made arrangements for his funeral and post cremation rituals. But he survived for and lived for 8 months after that, and he died after 8 months, not because of COVID, because of some other complications. So we had all these kinds of experience. Now, so those are the kind of situations which created stress for me. On the other hand, what kind of impacts did it have? My work related impact was on my programs on causing incredible performance. That's the only program I do. That's the only work which I do. So before the COVID, even pandemic one, the round one, we were doing only programs for organizations, which we call in-house programs. And that too, in-person programs. We had to get people. We'll get them into an outbound loading center, or do it in a hotel, or do it in the people's offices, or wherever. Now, both of these were not possible. Organizations were not coming forth for doing programs because of they were dealing with their own COVID-related impacts and stresses. And obviously, we can't do in-house programs or in-person programs. Now, what do we do then? So that gave us an opportunity to think completely differently. We could have succumbed to the pressures of COVID and the lockdown and whatnot. But that gave us an opportunity to do something very different, which we have never done for the previous 7 years. So first thing we did was to announce open programs. In other words, people not necessarily from one organization, but people from a variety of organizations, variety of fields, individuals can join. And second, we were doing programs online. Now, this seems to have become a normal now. Now, thanks to the new technology which we use, the online webinar kind of Zoom or whatever, we have had more than 500 people being aware, becoming aware of the CIP framework, about 100 people actually applying the CIP framework to cause incredible performance. And we are quite comfortable. And one more thing, when we do the programs on causing incredible performance in person, we use a lot of activities, physical activities. Now, we found out that we can do activity-based learning even online. We have created our own activities, and there are some activities which are there already available, which we use. So, COVID and stress, we could have succumbed to the pressures, thrown up our hands, but we actually handled it for great benefit. Okay? So, move on. So what is the CIP framework? Let me give you a CIP framework first. It focuses on very, very measurable results against a predetermined goal, preset goal. Second, it focuses on action and then the individual. The entire CIP framework is based on actions, 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 actions. Go to the next one. So, there are CIP, I won't go into details unless people ask me for details, because we want to focus more on application of the CIP framework. Some parts of the CIP framework as we apply, I'll explain. So what is the CIP framework all about? It has 10 action principles. The action principles on your screen need to be read from bottom up. Commit an account, reset mind, be present, simplify, declare an incredible goal, discover a compelling purpose, rally others, execute with ruthless focus, purview for the future, and overcome obstacles. These are the 10 action principles. So essentially, for anybody to cause unbelievably high levels of performance results, they need to apply these 10 action principles. Now, when I say apply 10 action principles, there will be a question. How to apply this? For example, you are saying, you can tell me, hey, listen, you are saying reset mind. How do I reset mind? You are saying overcome obstacles. How do I overcome obstacles? You are saying commit an account. What should I do to commit an account? So we need to know the hows of each one of them. So the CIP framework for each action principle has a set of actions you need to take. Okay? And for you to take actions, any action, we need tools. So if I have to make chapatis for breakfast or lunch or dinner, I need tools. I need a tawa, I need a rolling pin, I need a oven, and so on and so forth. If I have to move myself from place A to place B, I need a tool called a vehicle or at least a pair of legs. If you want to be in this webinar, you need a tool called some kind of a browser which is put into either a computer or your tab or a mobile phone. You need a tool called internet connectivity, you need electricity, and so on and so forth. So the third component of the CIP framework are some very specific actions. I find that reset mind could be a very critical action principle to apply when we deal with COVID related work stress. So I am going to talk more about that in today's session. So essentially the CIP framework contains 10 action principles, actions for each of the action principles, and certain tools to use while taking those actions. Move on. So what is the premise? Just hold it. This is an animated slide, Gunjan. Okay. So all of us, what is the premise? Fundamental premise of causing incredible performance is this. All of us want to succeed. All of us want to win. Right? The question is, don't change it till I say it. What produces these actions? We want to achieve, which means we have a goal and we want to achieve the goal. So what produces this achievement is a question. And when I ask people what all produces results in your life, there are many answers which come up. All those answers are what I had myself done research on. I have taught people, I have trained people on that, I published my papers on that, etc., before I came up with the CIP framework. When I came up with the CIP framework, studying more than 250 real examples of people whom I have trained and coached, and asked this question, what made them produce those kinds of results? We are talking about results which are 2 times to 10 times more than what you would have otherwise cost in the normal situation. So what made them cause these results? How did those results come? So when I asked that, people would say answers like the following: my commitment, my dedication, my passion, my skill, my knowledge, planning, having a goal, focusing on a goal, and so on and so forth. My infrastructure facilities which are available, opportunities which are available. If I'm working in an organization, the kind of team members I have, the kind of policies and processes of an organization. So people come up with all these kinds of answers. I found that none of these actually causes results. None of this. Then, results are anyway getting done, achieved, goals are getting achieved, people are winning, people are succeeding. Then how? Move brilliantly and very simply, and which is 100% of the time true, which is only actions produce results. Nothing else causes results. I can have all the skill and competence which I want to achieve some goal. I can have all the support systems ready for it. I can have a lot of time. I can have money. I can have the great team. I may be very passionate about it. I may want to do it. But none of those produces results unless I apply all those things to take action. You need to take action. Only actions produce results. In fact, any action you and I do will produce some result or the other. So here is the first thing about CIP framework. Only actions produce results. And for you to produce those results which are your goals, you have to take the appropriate actions. Right? So now, if only actions produce results, then the next question which the CIP framework answers is, what makes me do whatever I do? What makes me not to do whatever I don't do? If there are things which I need to do, what makes me do them? If there are things which I'm not doing, what makes me not do them? Okay? Here again, the CIP framework has a very simple but extraordinarily far-reaching answer. Move, which is thoughts. It's only thoughts which produce actions. Okay? In CIP framework, we differentiate between thinking and thought. Thinking is a process, something which is happening in our heads. The result of that processing is a thought. And I'm differentiating this, saying this, because there are thoughts which do not necessarily come from thinking. They just happen to us, which in CIP we call the voices. We'll talk maybe more about the voices as we go along. So what is the fundamental premise of CIP framework? Results are important. Results to achieve which is equal to our goal, that is very important. So we have to set goals and take actions, because only actions produce results. And when we take actions, oftentimes our actions need to be altered, for which you have to alter your thought. So that is the fundamental premise of the CIP framework. So we are going to use this in some way in the remaining part of our session today. Okay. Move on. Okay. So here is this question. We have the corona virus, epidemic, pandemic, whatever it is, different rounds, different variants, mutation, this, that, etc., etc. It has two kinds of consequences. One, it impacts our daily life. And many of you who are in this would have experienced this by yourself or in people around you, your friends and relatives. It impacts health, not necessarily in any order of significance. It impacts health. People get unhealthy, maybe to an extreme extent of even dying. But in between, there is a health-related impact. It affects our finances, our incomes, as well as expenditure. People lose jobs. People's pays are cut. Costs go up. So our expenditure goes up, unless you're, of course, stopping from moving around and all this. That's apart. Our day-to-day life expenses go on increasing. So it impacts our finances. It impacts our saving. It impacts relationships within families, between friends. If I'm locked down for the last almost a year and a quarter, more than a year and a half, hardly have I ever gone out. People have hardly ever come home. We don't go out. So it impacts relationships, right? It impacts our productivity at work in particular. We can't go to the offices, we can't go to our factories, we can't go to our workplace. There is something called the work from home. And not all of us have great workplace at home. There are so many people who are working, who are living in a one-bedroom house, two-bedroom house with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people, 6 people in their families. There are young children there. Their children have their own online classes, and I have to do my work from home. My wife also has to do work from home, maybe. And that is my father or my grandfather or my mother-in-law, father-in-law, unwell. They are coughing away to glow. So all these things, it reduces my productivity, quite apart from the technology problem. Internet connectivity, this, that, etc., etc. It very severely impacts productivity, all right. And such kinds of impacts which we have, which are very, very tangible results, impacts, right? Let me ask this question. Gunjan, tell me if some people have answered. What are the other kinds of impacts? The second is the stress we are talking about. So what other impacts have people had apart from health, finance, relationship, productivity? What can complete that, etc.? Are there some people answering it? Please answer. You can use a comment box.
So we can go ahead with this because we are not receiving any comments right now as of now.
Okay.
You can go ahead with the presentation. If anything will put up, I'll put it across to you in between.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Corona has those kinds of impacts, and it has an impact which creates our stress. Now the point is this: do those impacts on health, finance, relationship, etc. cause stress, or because we are stressed, those impacts happen? That's a good question to ask. Okay. Now, if you look at causing incredible performance framework, we say that reasons, justifications, answer to the question why, because of what, is a stress because of impacts, or impacts are because of stress. So from the CIP framework, when I speak more about reset mind, you'll understand, we find that all kinds of reasons we give, all reasons for anything, all reasons are not necessarily factual. They are what we call non-facts. What is a fact, what's a non-fact, we'll come to shortly. Now, some people may be stressed because of those impacts, and some people may be impacted on those matters because they are already stressed. Stress is an emotional stuff, right? So, irrespective of whether the stress impacts causes the impacts or the impacts cause stress, there is still another question. What are these three things? These three are real, right? There is COVID, Corona. There are those impacts, truly, and there is the stress. These are real. Is the connection between Corona and impacts and stress? What makes that? Why does Corona produce that impact? Why does Corona produce a stress? Again, going back to the premise of CIP, it is not the Corona which creates the impact, it is not the Corona which creates the stress, and particularly stress. What produces those impact on stress is what our thoughts are about Corona and what our thoughts are about impacts. Okay, because of Corona pandemic, the company or the organization which I was working in either reduced its staff or closed down, and therefore I lost my job, which impacts my finances, income, obviously. That's true. Now, does that produce stress? No. What we our thoughts about my income, that is what produces my stress. Get this in very clearly. Loss of productivity and therefore something does not impact my stress. My health deteriorating or getting unwell being quarantined, I'm under medication. That doesn't create stress. People are not coming home. I am not going to meetings, to meet people. We are not interacting. Our interaction is very limited to telephones or video calls. That does not, in other words, shrinking relationships, impacted relationships, do not cause stress. What causes stress is what our thoughts about those relationships are. So it is a thought which impacts stress, which causes the stress, not the corona by itself, not the impacts. The corona is real, impacts are real, stress is real. But for us to handle the word stress, the first thing we need to realize is what produces that stress is our thought, nothing else. With the same situation, I can have a different thought. So I'm going to invite some people who are requested to share from their CIP experience. Priya is already there, right? I don't know whether Shraddha is there or not. Shraddha, are you there? So I'll request them to share later on. Okay, let's move on. Move.
Yes.
Okay. Shraddha.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Shraddha is, she'll introduce herself a bit, but she is one of my loving and my pet participants of the CIP. And we coached her. She did the program on causing incredible performance. I coached her personally, and she did whatever she did. She achieved whatever she achieved during the COVID, the first phase of COVID. And then what she is going to share today is more recent experiences of her going through whatever she went through in the COVID situation and what she applied in the CIP and what she produced. Go ahead, Shraddha.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Shraddha ma'am. How are you? Thank you
I'm
for
fine.
joining, ma'am.
And I'm fine because of CIP only.
That's
because
nice.
I was under so much stress. My few of my relatives, my friends, they died due to coronavirus, and I was also under stress that I might die. There was fear of death, and I went into depression. I had to take medicines. Then I decided to take CIP goal, and I took a goal which for me it was incredible during that time because financially I'm petrol pump owner. So my sales were reduced due to COVID, due to lockdowns, and I was under mental, physical, and financial pressure. There was so much stress, and I had to come over that. So for that, I talked to Professor Balaji and took a incredible goal. My sales were in month of May was 2.7 lakh liters of fuel, petrol and diesel, and then I took up a goal to make it 4 lakh liters in June.
1 month.
For 1 month goal, because there is a true urgency of recovering from that stress. I could not lengthen it. I could not stretch it. So what I did, I took a goal of 1 month, and I did many. I took up many things to attract customers. I even had to borrow money because financially we were at that time lacking something. So I borrowed money, which was again I can say a dogma for me, not asking anything from others. So I reset my mind that no, this is the time to achieve the goal, and you have to come over that dogma. Reset your mind. Fear of voices, so many voices, as sir has recently told us, the thoughts. There are so many voices which are obstacles. they ask you to no, don't do this, but you have to overcome if you have to achieve the goal. So through taking proper actions, I achieve the goal, and I can say that only actions can make you come out of that stress, because stress is something which is, when you say, which is nothing. If you say stress, you cannot visualize it. I am under stress, I am under depression. Why? Because there are so many reasons, I can give reasons. But by doing so, what I am doing, I am living in a zone, in a comfort zone. I have to come out of that. I have to break those obstacles, overcome those obstacles, and then do actions. And when you start taking action, you thinking in that line, and whatever stress, because it's only in our mind, the stress is only in our mind. So when you take action, when you do something, when you plan something, you can easily overcome your stress. And at that time, today, I am feeling healthy physically, mentally. My doctor also said that you need not to take medicines for depression, which you used to think 2 months back. So I'm really glad that I'm a part of CIP. And my only suggestion is to everybody that we should take action.
Thank you,
Only
Shraddha.
action and planning can make us achieve whatever we want to achieve.
Thank you so much, Shraddha, for sharing. Priya ji,
यस सर
आप क्या करना जानते हो प्लीज?
यस सर सर मेरी आवाज आ रही है सबको?
जी हाँ, मुझे आ रहा है।
आ रहा है, ओके सर। गुंजन जी, श्रद्धा जी, सर आप सभी को बहुत बहुत नमस्कार। मेरा नाम प्रिया है और मैं उत्तर प्रदेश में रायबरेली बेस्ड हूँ और मैं एक एनजीओ में काम करती हूँ, लोकमित्र नाम की। हम लोग एक ही बच्चों की शिक्षा के लिए काम करते हैं। मार्च 2020 में लॉकडाउन के बाद हमारी काम की परिस्थितियां बहुत कठिन हो गई, क्योंकि स्कूल सारे बंद हो गए और हमें उन बच्चों की शिक्षा को जारी करना था। और साथ में
थोड़ा धीरे से बोलिए।
ओके सर। हाँ, मार्च 2020 में जब लॉकडाउन हुए तो स्कूल सारे बंद हो गए और आना जाना भी हम लोगों का बंद हो गया। इस बीच बच्चों से इंटरेक्ट करने की जो मेरी आदत थी और लोगों से मिलकर के काम करना, जो एक आदत मैंने बनाई थी, वो सब काफ़ी बदल गया और ज़्यादातर समय हम लोगों को इंटरनेट पे और फ़ोन पे बिताने का मौका मिला। तो इससे क्या हुआ कि हमारी लाइफ़स्टाइल पूर्णतः बिल्कुल चेंज हो गई और मैं एक तरह से स्ट्रेस में जाने लगी। और इस तरह से जो तकनीक के साथ काम करते हुए मुझे काफ़ी हेडेक और स्ट्रेस रहने लगा। तो और फिर इन दिनों मैंने गौर किया कि मैं जिनसे भी बात करती काफ़ी नाराज़ हो जाती थी, छोटी-छोटी बात पे काफ़ी नाराज़गी। ये सब सिम्पटम्स थे जो कहीं न कहीं मुझे मतलब कि अंदर से काफ़ी जो स्ट्रेस था, वो उसका असर था। फिर इस तरह से चलता रहा, करीब 3-4 महीने ऐसे ही मैंने बिताए। फिर नवंबर में एक दिन मुझे शाम को काफ़ी मेरी तबीयत खराब हो गई और मुझे इमरजेंसी डॉक्टर को होम विजिट के लिए बुलाना पड़ा। तो उन्होंने उसे पैनिक अटैक बोला और साथ में कुछ दवाइयाँ दी। तो फिर मैं इस तरह से 3-4 महीने रोज़ाना दवाई लेकर के काम चला रही थी कि मई में मुझे CIP के बारे में पता चला और मैंने CIP कोर्स ज्वाइन करने का मन बनाया और मेरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से मेरे साथ 5 लोगों ने किया। और मैंने फिर जून से लेके अगस्त तक के लिए 3 महीने के लिए एक गोल लिया, इनक्रेडिबल गोल लिया और उसको मैंने पूरा किया। अभी मैं कर ही रही हूँ। तो मेरा गोल ये था कि मैं हर एक महीने सोशल मीडिया पे 12 पॉजिटिव स्टोरीज डालूंगी। इस स्टोरी के माध्यम से मैं अपने काम करने के तरीके और अपनी सफलता को सोशल मीडिया पे बताऊंगी लोगों को और कम से कम 500 लोगों को मैं उस स्टोरी से इंगेज करूंगी। तो उस हिसाब से मैंने अभी तक 28 पोस्ट किए हैं और अच्छे रिस्पॉन्स मिल रहे हैं। और इस बीच मैं जो शिफ्ट देख रही हूँ मैं अपने थॉट प्रोसेस में, कि पहले जहाँ पे मैं बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस्ड थी, अब उतने ही कॉन्फिडेंट हूँ और मुझे जो इस काम को करने में काफ़ी मेहनत और ताकत लगानी पड़ती थी, अब वो काम आराम से इजीली हो जा रहा है। और मैं ये देख रही हूँ कि मेरे मन में काफ़ी सारे विचार आते हैं, रीसेट माइंड काफ़ी हो रहा है और बहुत सारे विचार हैं और फिर उनको कैसे करना है वो मैं सोच पाती हूँ कि मुझे कैसे इस काम को सरल बनाना है। इस काम को करते हुए मुझे मतलब अपना कंपेलिंग पर्पस मिला। जो मैंने अपने काम में इंटरेस्ट खो दिया था, मेरा इंटरेस्ट वापस आया। पर इस सीआईपी को लेकर के आगे बढ़ते हुए भी जब सेकंड कोचिंग कॉल हुआ मेरा करीब मिड जून में, तो उस समय फिर मेरी स्थिति काफ़ी गड़बड़ा गई थी। मैं जो हूँ फिर से उसी तरह से स्ट्रेस में थी। मुझे डर लगने लगा था कि मैंने इतना बड़ा गोल ले तो लिया है पर मैं ये पूरा नहीं कर पाऊंगी। पर फिर निधि जी उनके कोचिंग में मुझे काफ़ी मदद मिली। मैंने काफ़ी सारे एक्शन प्रिंसिपल्स को समझा, जैसे रीसेट माइंड है, सरल करें हैं और सजग रहें। बहुत सारी चीज़ें थी, उसको मैंने सीखा, धीरे धीरे अभ्यास किया। क्या बदल सकती हूँ, क्या नहीं बदल सकती हूँ, फैक्ट और नॉन फैक्ट में अंतर करना सीखा और अकॉर्डिंगली मैं आगे बढ़ी। तो आज की डेट में मैंने करीब मुझे 3 महीने में 36 पोस्ट डालने थे, मैंने 28 कर लिया है और मैं अब है कि इम्पॉसिबल की तरफ बढ़ने जा रही हूँ और मेडिसिन छोड़ दिया है मैंने और मैं काफ़ी अपना हेल्दी लाइफ लीड कर पा रही हूँ। अब मुझे बिल्कुल भी नाराज़गी नहीं होती है, बल्कि मैं लोगों को समझ पा रही हूँ कि उनको क्या प्रॉब्लम आ रही होगी और काम को मैं सिंपल बना रही हूँ। थैंक्स टू बालाजी एंड निधि जी। और मैं एक तो अपने पर्सनल लाइफ में काफ़ी खुश हूँ, अपने परिवार के लोगों में भी पूरा सीआईपी तो नहीं, पर मुझे जहाँ भी मौका मिलता है मैं उसके 1-2 बातों को लेके एक्शन प्रिंसिपल्स को लेकर के बात करती हूँ और मुझे काफ़ी अच्छा लग रहा है। ये मुझे सिर्फ प्रोजेक्ट नहीं, बल्कि मुझे लग रहा है कि मुझे एक नया नज़रिया मिला है, मुझे एक नया चश्मा मिला है, जिससे मैं दुनिया को देख रही हूँ और खुद भी अपनी परेशानियाँ हल कर पा रही हूँ, औरों को भी। और अब मैं कुछ नया प्रोजेक्ट भी लेने जा रही हूँ और अपना जो गोल मेरा जो इनक्रेडिबल था, मैं इम्पॉसिबल लेने का मन बना रही हूँ, क्योंकि अभी मेरे पास 3 वीक का समय है। थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू निधि जी।
You're welcome. So, Shraddha and Priya, my request to you is to stay back till the end of the session because
Okay,
some
sir.
people may want to interact with you, ask you some questions, or ask questions which you may want to answer. But if
Okay,
you
sir.
don't want to be there, you need to get off the meeting, that is also okay. Okay? My request is stay back if you can. Okay, Kunjan, can we thank you very much, Priya, for sharing such wonderfully. Uh,
Can
Kunjan,
I
can
share
we have the
the
screen? Yeah,
presentation
please.
again?
Please. Go to the previous slide. Yeah, so keep it there. Point is this. There is corona, and as both Shraddha and Priya shared, it had impacts on their health, on their productivity. So when Shraddha was talking about productivity, she was sharing about how much was the petrol and diesel she sold. And Priya was talking about being almost bedridden and all her work got affected. Those are the impact. And they were also having stress, financial stress, physical stress, mental stress, psychological stress. Now, can you do anything? Let's look at this. Can you do anything about corona? You and I can't do a thing about corona. What we can definitely do is protect ourselves from being infected by corona by following the COVID practices. We can mask ourselves, we vaccinate ourselves, we keep social distance, we wash our hands, we use sanitizers. All those things can reduce the incident probability of you and I getting affected by corona. And even after getting vaccinated twice, the 2 doses, there are people who get affected by corona, but the impact is much lower, much less severe. But the point is, you and I can't do anything about corona. But we want to handle stress, right? Now, we have this choice. We have the choice of saying, okay, let me get rid of the stress in some way and then I will manage the impact on finances, productivity, etc., etc. In other words, we want to handle stress and then impact our finances, productivity, relationships, etc. Now, in causing incredible performance, we say that since stress is caused by thought, not because of corona, not because of the impacts, but our thoughts about corona, our thoughts about impacts, we have to handle the thoughts. And that is precisely what Shraddha and Priya did. They said, yes, I am affected, I have a stress. Now, what should I change my thought to so that I am de-stressed? And what they did was to use the CIP framework, and they said, okay, I have stress. For me to overcome, I have to take a goal which is an incredible goal and achieve that. In the process of achieving that goal is where I am going to get rid of my stress. It is not like first I will get rid of my stress and then increase my results. No. It is right now a healing, so if you want to call it, for reducing stress itself is applying the CIP framework. Okay? So let's move on, Gunjan. Go to the next slide and the next slide. Go to the next one also. Next slide itself. Okay. Press return. Okay. So we have been focusing so much on the power of thoughts. And when we think in a particular way about COVID or the impact on relationships, finances, etc., we have one kind of action and one kind of results. If we want to produce some other result, we have to alter the thought. Because only altered thoughts, changed thoughts will change our actions and will lead to a different results. That is what precisely the action principle called reset mind is. Reset mind as an action principle of CIP says change the way your thought. Okay, now for us to change the thought, Causing Incredible Performance framework classifies thoughts into two categories. One category is called the fact thoughts, another is called the non-fact thoughts. Fact thoughts are those where there cannot be a disagreement. All of us think in the same way, right? About anything. Suppose right now, let's look at what you and I are doing. Balaji is talking, you are hearing, look at what are all the thoughts. I ask you, tell me what are the things around you right now? You will say things like, okay, here is a table, here is a chair, here is my mobile, I'm sitting on a chair, that's a roof, etc., etc. And no two people can have a different of opinion about it, right? So fact thoughts are those kinds of thoughts with which people cannot have another thought, about which they can't have another thought, they can't disagree. Non-fact thoughts are those where there can be more than one way of thinking about something. For example, to my reduced productivity increase stress, or my increased stress reduce productivity. Which is the chick, which is the egg. Okay? Because of my productivity going down, is my relationship at office, my workplace impacted, and my finances are impacted, or my productivity itself is going down because of strained relationships at workplace. Which is the cause, which is the effect? Now, the answer to the question, which is the cause, which is the effect, need not be singular, no? You may think in one way, I may think in a completely different way. You may think your productivity is going down because the office is closed. No, it is not because the office is closed, maybe because your children are making a lot of noise during the vacation time. So which is the cause? Is the children making noise in your house when you are working from home, Is that the reason for your productivity coming down, or the office being closed, or your internet connectivity being weak? What is the cause for your low productivity? Or is it your stress itself? And what are you stressed because of? Corona. Is it because of you impacted by corona, or a whole lot of information floating around about corona? So what actually is the reason for low productivity? So we can have different answers to the question, what reduced productivity? And therefore, a thought, that kind of a thought is a non-fact thought. Non-fact thoughts are where there can't be disagreements. Non-fact thoughts are those where there are or there can be potentially disagreements. The minute there is a disagreement about my thought, which means that there are other possible thoughts, alternative thoughts. Right? So now what do we do in reset mind? Can you go to the next one? Okay, go back. Okay, so what are we doing in reset mind? We are identifying our current thought and answering, is this thought a fact thought or a non-fact thought? If it is a fact thought, we can't alter that, because if I am drinking water, I can't think something else as what I am drinking. I have to think it is water only, right? Similarly, if I am sitting, I can't think I am dancing. Makes no sense. So if it is, my thought is a fact thought, I can't alter that. It is only when my thought is a non-fact thought that I can alter. And so I get in touch with my current thought and find out if it is a non-fact thought. And if it is a non-fact thought, I can think about, okay, why thought is one, what else can I think? So as I said very early in the webinar, when we found that we cannot do, reality is we can't do in-house programs, we can't do in-person programs. Now, if I get stuck to the only way to conduct the CIP program is in person, I need to have participants, 30, 40 of them in front of me in a classroom situation. Right? If that is the only way of conducting, enabling people to cause incredible performance, that is my thought. Is it a fact thought or a non-fact thought? Obviously, it was a non-fact thought, because there are different ways of teaching people, training people. Then I come up with what are the other ways of training. So I alter my thought that it should be in person to it can be online also. Alright? Okay. Now, here is a big problem. First of all, as human beings, it is almost impossible to accept that our thought is a non-fact. We always think the way I think, my thought is a fact. If I go out, I will catch corona. That thought, I think, is a fact. Definitely. Therefore, I don't move out. Okay? If I work from home, my productivity will come down. Is it a fact thought or a non-fact thought? Okay? We can't think that it is a non-fact thought. So if I gave you a tool, which is a part of CIP framework, where you can use the tool and find out whether your thought is a fact thought or non-fact thought, then that tool can help. Hey, Shraddha or Priya, can you keep your phones on mute? It's also on mute. Who's on mute? Gunjan, maybe yours.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, Shraddha and Priya, I thought your phones were not in mute. So, if I gave you a tool and you can use the tool to find out whether your thought is a fact thought or a non-fact thought, it will be useful. Okay? So I'll give you the tool. I'll also teach you how to use the tool. Go to the next one. This tool is called the list of facts or non-facts. I don't know why it's coming like this. Anyway, if you look at the box above, fact thoughts, the tool says there are only 3 kinds of thoughts which are fact thoughts. Whatever we think about, which are nouns, that's a roof, that's a wall, that's a table, that's a door, that's a floor, that's a car, I am a man, you are a woman. Those are chapatis in front of me. There's a cup of tea in front of me. Those are all nouns. You and I can't change that thought, right? Can anybody disagree that what I have in front of me is a few chapatis? If what I have is really chapatis and you know what is there is chapati, you will not say, no, it is not chapati, it is pav bhaji. Right? Similarly, all verbs, if our thought is that of a verb, I am sitting, I ask you, what is your thought about what I am doing? You say, okay, Balaji is talking, he is sitting, he is nodding his head. Maybe some of you are writing down notes. I don't know. Some of you may be even walking with your mobile phone on when the webinar is going on. So those are all verbs, right? So if I find somebody is sitting in front of the laptop and in the webinar, if somebody says, what is that person doing? That person will also say, she is sitting, right? Gunjan is sitting now. Nobody is going to say Gunjan is sleeping or dancing. Because what she is right now doing is, and that's a fact that she is sitting, which is a noun. Third, there are concepts in various sciences and fields which are defined, which have definitions. Right? Profit is a concept, which is a concept where the definition is income minus expenditure. Right? Or loss, if the income is loss, if the expenditure is more than the income, we say that's a loss. We say if the income is more than the expenditure, then we call it a profit or a surplus. Velocity is a concept in physics which is defined, right? Similarly, various fields have definitions. And once you and I know the definition, then there can be a disagreement about it. But there is another concept. For example, there are concepts which have multiple definitions. Let's say leadership. It has multiple definitions. Motivation. It has multiple definitions. In fact, in one of my coaching experiences, coaching people to cause incredible performance, I found that in that company, the word revenue itself is a concept with multiple definitions. 3 different people in the same company use the word revenue meaning 3 different stuff. But if all of us used one definition, there cannot be a disagreement. So all nouns, all verbs, and all concepts with definitions are fact thoughts, because there cannot be a disagreement about it. And only those 3 categories of thoughts are non-fact thoughts. All other thoughts which we have fall into non-fact thoughts. So I won't go into the details of what you see on the screen. All that I'm going to do is to very quickly read out. And as I'm reading out, all that you need to keep in mind is that, okay, when I said all adjectives, how come that's a non-fact thought? The answer to that is that you may have an objective for a noun, but somebody else may have some other adjective for the noun. Right? Suppose I ask you, how's the temperature? How in your room now? Somebody may say it's cold. Somebody may say it's comfortable. Somebody may say it is actually hot. But if I look at the noun, what is the data? The data of the temperature may show 26 degrees Celsius. Right? For some, the 26 Celsius is cold, some others it is warm, some others it is. Take some other real life example. Those of you who are married, and or those of you in spite of marriage or before without marriage, you're having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You and I, suppose you're a man, right? I have a boy girlfriend and I think she is a very beautiful woman. Beautiful is an adjective for the noun called woman. But somebody else can have a completely different adjective. They may not think she is a beautiful woman. They may say she's a charming woman. Somebody may say she is a normal woman and nothing great about her. Okay, so people can use different kinds of adjectives for that. So similarly, therefore, what I'm saying is, giving it as an example to see that when you look at all adjectives as non-fact thoughts, you'll have to realize that those bring out there could be different thoughts about it. Similarly, all adverbs, all lies, jute, all misunderstanding and misinformation, which is not a lie. If it is somewhat dusky or late in the evening, I see a piece of something on the road and I scream, that's a snake. I am not lying. Only thing is I have misunderstood that as a snake. It's a piece of rope, as simple as that. But somebody can say, hey, that's a piece of rope. Somebody can say no. Somebody else can say it's a snake. Somebody else can say it's a crack on the road. Somebody else can say it's a wire. Something like that. Each person can have different views about it. Similarly, all assumptions, guesses, and opinions, all conclusions, which are interpretation, inferences, and conclusions, deductions we make based on data, assumptions, guesses, etc., we come up with in the absence of information. Conclusions we come up on the basis of information. With the same set of information, you and I can come to two different conclusions. Judgments, good, bad, right, wrong, all those things are also people can disagree with, and so on. All generalizations, stereotypes. We have stereotypes about people from certain kinds of institutions, certain geographical states, certain kind of countries, certain kind of communities, right? Certain age groups, certain professions. We all have stereotypical, typical thoughts about them. Don't say it. Let me say a few words and tell me and get in touch with your stereotype and realize that it's a stereotype. That is your broad brush statements about them. Teachers. The minute I said teacher, certain quality of teachers occur to you. Some words about them occur to you. And if you examine those words, you are actually saying all teachers are like this. Politicians. All politicians are like this. Teenage girl. All teenage girls are like this. Germans. All Germans are like this. Africans. All Africans are like this. Like that, we broad brush statements. That may not be true of everybody, right, in that group. Just because you are from Rajasthan, does it mean that you must love dal bati? Gunjan? You don't have to know. You can hate. There is at least one Rajasthani who does not like dal bati. That means my stereotype that all Rajasthanis are like this is wrong. People can have a different thought about it because they have experienced some other Rajasthanis. Yep. Like that. All thoughts about the future, whether the future is the next half an hour or the next 25 years. People, your thought, you may think the future is going to be like this. Somebody else can come up with another way of thinking about the future. Third way, for example, is a statement of the future. Is it going to come? Some people say yes, it will come. Some people say no, it has already come. Some people say no, it won't come. Some people say if you get vaccinated 2 doses, you will not get infected. Some people show you examples of people who got 2 vaccines, 2 doses done, but got affected 3 times. So, but based on that, what will you say about the future? Based on my experience, I can say one thing about the future. Somebody else can disagree with that future based on his or her experience and maybe assumptions. Is the slide something which can go up? There are some more below. Okay, so leave it that. So there are those go back to the earlier slide. Are you using a PDF, Kunjan? Or the PPT?
The PPT, the one which you have shared.
I shared a PDF and a PowerPoint.
Okay, so you want me to share?
Just try
Sir,
the PDF.
I am sharing the PPT actually right now.
Just try the PDF.
PDF, I don't have, sir.
Okay, doesn't matter. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to give people who are in the webinar a couple of minutes and ask you to think through whatever your stress is about corona. Which of these thoughts is producing that stress? I'm not saying your thought is wrong. Non-facts are not incorrect or wrong, mistakes. No. We are saying that there can be an alternate thought. That's all. Your thought can be as fine as somebody else's thought. But your current thought is causing that stress. If you alter the thought, maybe the altered thought may not have produced a stress. And that's what precisely Shraddha and Priya were sharing. Okay? So let me give you a minute, pause, and ask people to look at the list of facts or non-facts. What kind of thoughts about corona is creating that stress? Is it a fact thought or is it a non-fact thought? Look at the categories. Which category does your thought fall under? And if you have identified it, maybe I request some of you to at least share on the comment. Getting some comments?
So there are no comments yet. So we can move ahead with this thing and I'll share it with you.
Okay. No, I want people to think and say that, but if they don't want to say that, it's okay. There's some thought which they have which doesn't allow them to share the comments. The question is your thoughts about the corona, which causes stress. Is that thought or are those thoughts fact thoughts or non-fact thoughts? To know whether they are fact thoughts or non-fact thoughts, use the categories and find out which category does your thought fall under. Here is my take based on our experience with CIP. Somebody has said. Shraddha, you said something?
Shraddha ma'am have told that these all are like non-facts. They fall into the category of non-facts.
Yeah. It has to be. Your current thought about corona has to be a non-fact thought. Why? Because 99.999% of any thought of ours is non-fact. we have very insignificant proportion of our thoughts in life which are facts. If 99.99999% of all our thoughts are non-fact thoughts, then very likely that our thoughts about corona are also non-fact. They will fall under something dangerous. It's an adjective. Adverb. What can be an adverb about corona? Spread. Very fast spreading. Delta variant is more pandemic than other variants. Lies. We have an oxygen shortage, or there is too much of oxygen. There is no bed available. Lies, maybe. Misunderstanding. The whole or misinformation. There's so much of information about corona, the pandemic, it impacts on the social media or the print media or the television media. There's so much of information. No two pieces of information seem to tally. So if I ask anyone, tell me the actual number of active cases of corona in India as of today, as of yesterday. You can Google up and go to some site and come up with a number. But is that number reliable or you're being misinformed? I'm sure some of you at least would have heard or read that in the parliament, the government said the states reported 0 deaths because of lack of oxygen. And there's a huge hue and cry that the government is misleading us, it is misinforming us. Or is your thought about corona some assumption you're making, or if you're making some guesses, or is it some opinion you have? Are they conclusions you have arrived at? Therefore, because of those kinds of things are conclusions. Are you making judgments? Corona is bad, corona is wrong. Or it's good to have corona because then I don't have to go to the office. I don't have to cook. I've been wanting to be alone for so many years. Thankfully, I got corona and quarantined within the house itself. Is that why? That all reasons, justifications, because of, and so on. So look at whether your thought is falling into any one of those. Invariably, I am willing to bet it's going to be one of those thoughts which causes stress. Now, if the cause of stress is a non-fact thought, then you can change your thought. If the impact is because of a non-fact thought, you can change your thought about those impacts. Right? Move on. So, lastly, a few thoughts about how you can handle stress. First, you set an incredible goal. We'll come to commit and reset mind later. First, you create an incredible goal for yourself. That is precisely what Priya and Shraddha said. They had stress. Instead of waiting for the stress to get over and do their work, increase the results, have the high results, instead of doing that, they said, stress is there, I am going ahead and taking up an incredible goal. If people want to know what is the meaning of an incredible goal, I am willing to tell you. But right now, all that you need to know is that an incredible goal is a goal which is much beyond what you think you can normally achieve. But it is not something which you heart of heart know is not possible. So it is in some realm of reality. And how to set an incredible goal, what is an incredible goal is a part of the CIP framework. So we are saying that Priya and Shraddha, they said each of them took an incredible goal. Right? Now, why take an incredible goal? Why not a goal which you can achieve, which you are sure to achieve? Because the goal which you are sure to achieve in your current situation will not possibly relieve you of the stress. See, there are two kinds of stresses. One is called a distress, another is called a eustress. Distress is what we are bothered about. When we say, when the whole webinar is thinking about distress, there is a negative stress. But eustress is a positive stress. Some people call it creative tension. Now, for you to get over this distress which you have, you need to take up a bigger goal than what you would normally achieve. Right? In anything in your life, take only one goal at a time. Only one goal. It could be anything about your goal. Goal is a result you want to achieve. For instance, during the COVID time when I was coaching someone, he said, I want to get a new job. I'm out of job, and in the next 3 months, I want to get a new job. That will be incredible for me. Now, getting a new job is not a goal. Keep this in mind. But what do you want the job for? Obviously, to earn income. Right? By and mostly. Now, therefore, my suggestion is take a goal of income. Now, what is the advantage of that? Taking a goal, an incredible goal of such an amount of money as income per month. The advantage is you have many actions, pathways to earn that income. So this guy got stuck on action. So when he said job, I said, why do you want the job? He said, I want to earn income. I said, then would you like to take income generation as your goal? I said, that's what he wants. He said, yes, that's what I want. Then we found that in a month, getting a job is one way of earning income. There are many other ways of earning income, which he started to apply. So he started planning actions from a various angle. I saw long ago a news report with a picture of a cab driver. He was driving cab, like taxi. Now, during the lockdown, taxis did not fly, and he was without any money. His daily income was gone. He suffered for a while, a few days. Then he said, I am going to convert my cab into a mobile vegetable shop. So he removed the back seat or put it flat and converted that into a mobile shop. He was selling potatoes and onions. Now, a cab driver found out some other way of, if he said, no, I want to find my cab sawari, he will never find. He said, my goal is about income. Then he said, what are all the ways I can get income? And one way is to use the cab. And this is the idea which he struck. Somebody else might use some other idea. We had to earn income for the company. Now, how do we earn income in the absence of in-house programs, in the absence of in-person programs? So what is our goal? Our goal is about number of people causing incredible performance. That is what we are interested in. Right? So then we said, if our goal is about number of people learning how to cause incredible performance and actually causing incredible performance, then we asked, how else can we do this? Then we came up with another option of online. Now we are thinking about doing this CIP work for maybe a few lakhs of people in the country through one organization. How do we reach the lakhs of people? So we say we'll go digital. So it's not only online, we actually go digital. There can be an app through which people can learn CIP. We already have an app, very, very preliminary app. So create an incredible goal and you find that you can come up with various action plans and execute those plans ruthlessly. And that's what Priya and Shraddha are doing. Shraddha did that, Priya is doing it now. He says, come what may. I have a plan to create so many stories per month. Priya, you said 14, right? Per month? 16?
No, sir. 12 per month.
Bara.
Yes, sir. 12.
Okay. So now you already hit 28, right?
Yes, sir.
So how come in less than 3 months she's going to achieve? She's the second month of her work CIP program.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In 2 months she is going to achieve her goal because she
Yes.
is executing her plan ruthlessly. Ruthlessly means mercilessly. Your plan needs to be merciless. You need to be merciless with yourself. We can succumb to our own pressures, succumb to our own comfort zone. We can succumb to our own. This is a way to do it. So when you start executing the plan ruthlessly, you will find that you carry certain dogmas, some preferred ways of being or thinking, shoulds and should not. It should be this way, it should not be that way. So if you are going to execute your plan, you can't stick to those should be's and should not be's. There are voices in your head which will tell you, hey, listen, you are not capable of it. Don't do it. It is dangerous. You will hurt yourself. What will other people think of you if you do this stupid stuff? You have been a cab driver and now you go and sell vegetables. What will people think of you? That's the voice of fear telling you. Somebody can say, well, I can't sell vegetables. I don't know. I'm incapable. That's a voice of doubt telling you, I can't. If I lost my job, what's stopping me from starting to be on my own? Maybe the first few weeks, it's not going to be easy. And Shraddha was sharing the dogma, the way she was brought up. She is middle-aged now. She was brought up in an environment of not asking anybody for money. And this time, she needed a big amount. And if she stuck to that big amount and said, I need that big amount, but I should not ask for money, she will never achieve her goal of 4 lakh liters in a month. So she had to drop the dogma. Dropping dogma is a part of CIP framework under an action principle called simplify. So she dropped that dogma. Priya had this voice of doubt. Can I ever do this? Even after she started getting coach, she had that, no? That's what Priya said. ये हो सकता है कि नहीं?
Yes, sir. बीच में ये बात आई थी.
Oh.
Yes.
So that is called the voice of doubt. Can I do it? The voice of doubt will tell you, no, you can't do it. Not possible. Nobody can do anything about it. The voice of cynicism. So like that. So when you execute your plan ruthlessly, you have to get rid of all these kinds of voices, these dogmas, at least for that time being. And when we say drop your dogmas, dogma is also a thought only. Ensure when you drop the dogma, you're not doing something illegal, immoral, or unethical. Okay? So, that's how to handle stress from CIP perspective. The way to deal with your stress, I'm not saying the stress will go, but you will not be stalked by that stress. For all you know, the stress can vanish. I've had people getting coached to apply the CIP framework to handle their physical matters, physical health problems, not severe ones, and so on. Okay. So, can you go to the last slide? Thanks, slide. So, thank you very much for being with us, for sharing my thoughts on how the Causing Incredible Performance framework can help you deal with work and non-work related stress in the context of corona pandemic. The corona pandemic does not cause stress, keep in mind. the impacts it has had doesn't cause stress. It is our thought about the virus. It is our thought about the way it is spreading. It is our thought about its impacts. Those thoughts are the ones which cause stress. You have to alter the thoughts, for which you need to know that that thought which you have about all these are non-facts, which means that you can have alternate thought. And when you say, okay, there is alternate thought, then you say, in spite of all that thought which I have, I am committing to cause some result which is incredible for me, right? And then you take those actions to handle that stress. Set an incredible goal, plan action, and execute that action ruthlessly, including overcoming obstacles. Okay, for which you may have to use reset mind at various stages of your the journey to achieve your incredible goal. Thank you so much. And if there are certain questions, I'm willing to answer them. You can type your questions, or you want to make some comments, are also fine with me. These are my thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing so much of information and how one can just differentiate between the facts and they can have a plan way of thoughtfulness of the process and how they can keep the stress aside by following this kind of framework in a proper way. So, sir, since lot of all the information we have covered in the lecture and which you have delivered, so currently we don't have any queries as of now. So, on behalf of Shining Tomorrow Foundation, I really thank you for joining us for today and sharing so much of information. And extend my regards to Priya ma'am and Shraddha ma'am as well. And thank you, ma'am, both of you, for joining us and sharing your experience and letting people know that how one can win a situation by following a proper process. So, thank you so much, sir and all, ma'am, for joining in
So,
the session.
in case
Thank you.
Gunjan, in case somebody writes to you and asks you some questions or something like
I'll
that, forward them to me. They can also contact me
definitely.
directly on the details which I given.
Sure, sir. Definitely, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye bye.
Have a nice. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Tata.
Bye.
Shraddha and Priya, धन्यवाद भैया.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Shall I now call off from the meeting?
Yes, sir.